Welcome guys to Vlog 5. This is going to be a fun one. It's a recap of 2 Vegas trips I took, one in July and one in November for the World Series of Poker. I wasn't quite sure if I was going to be starting a vlog then, so most of the footage is from my Snapchat and IG stories, but there's a lot of run good to cover. Also, yes, I've been trying to learn some new video editing tricks, and yes, it's been a lot of fun. Am I going to overuse my newly found editing skills? Let's start off with a bang and get into the Caesars Daily Tourney. I entered the $150 Daily Tourney with a starting stack of 15,000 chips. And again, I apologize about not getting table footage. At the time, I wasn't really thinking about starting a vlog yet, although I did take notes. Here we're in level 2 where blinds are at 50, 100. The table is pretty soft as we're getting quite a few limpers. There's only one early position raiser, the hijack calls. I'm in the button with 10-9 suited and decide to 3-bet to 650 chips. The original raiser folds, but the hijack just about min raises to 1400. Okay, alarm bells are going off here. Not quite sure what he's doing with this. It's early in the tourney too. Since I have position and a hand that I can navigate pretty well and it's almost a min raise, I'm going to call and see what happens. The flop comes 4-9 ace rainbow and he bets 500, a super small c-bet which I'm going to call here since I hit this board. Also I feel an ace would bet maybe a little bit bigger here. The turn is a 2 and he checks. I check it back and we're off to a river which is another 2. He now decides to bet 2,500. His line and overall bet sizing is just a little fishy to me, so when that's the case I just kind of make the call. He flips over pocket 7s and we scoop up our first pot. Level 5 and blinds are at 200, 400. We pick up ace queen suited in the big blind. Cutoff raises to 1,000, button calls, and I 3-bet to 4,000. Cutoff has about 10,000 left and goes all in. Button folds and it's to me. I think often we're flipping here. I'm hoping he doesn't have ace king or pocket kings. I have to put in 10,000 to win 25,000. I make the call and the opponent has pocket 10s. The board runs out clean and we chip up. Registration is closed and we have 58 total people that entered and currently 24 left. We have been up and down in this tourney, but are bleeding chips and are sitting at around 38,000 in level 8, where blinds are at 800, 1600 with a 1600 big blind ante. We have ace-5 offsuit in the big blind, a short stack and the hijack goes all in for about 10,000, folds around to us and it's an easy call. He flips over king-jack offsuit, our hand holds and we chip up and get closer to the final table. Still in level 8, I'm at around 48,000 and under the gun with queen-jack suited and raised to 4,000. We get one caller in the small blind and see a flop which comes out ace-5-4 with 2 diamonds. Small blind checks. I've got a flush draw and a backdoor straight draw, and I'm just going to play my range here since this flop is more advantageous for me than it is for him. I c-bet for 4,000. Small blind seems to not like it, but does call. The turn is a 10 of clubs, adding a few outs for us. He checks again. I could check back and see a free river card, but if a blank comes on the river and he bets, I'm just going to have to fold, even if it's unlikely he is an ace. I also want to keep the story going and represent a strong hand. I bet again, but this time for 8,000. He again thinks for a while, and I can tell he doesn't like it, but does end up making the call again. The river is the 8 of hearts and everything misses for me. He checks for a 3rd time though, and I'm going to just keep the story going. If he's got a weak ace or a flush draw, it's going to be very hard for him to call, and when I'm showing aggression at every street, this puts a lot of pressure on him. I don't want to go too big though, as I want to make it look like it's a value bet. I bet 15,000. Small blind thinks about it for a while, and mucks. We get it through and continue to chip up. Now we're at level 9 where blinds are at 1,000, 2,000 with a 2,000 big blind ante. There are 14 people left. We've got about 65,000 and get into a fun one. I don't quite remember the exact position and details, but an early position raises to 5,000. A late position goes all in for 30,000. I look down at ace-king offsuit and go all in for 65,000, hoping to get in with just him. But the original raiser also goes all in for 55,000 or so. Now I'm worried I ran into aces or kings, but to my relief, the original raiser shows ace-queen suited, the late position shows pocket 10s, and I flip over my ace-king. Even better when the flop comes out ace-high and runs out clean. We scoop up a huge pot and are now one of the chip leaders with about 160,000. There's 10 people left, and a short stack goes all in for around 25,000. It folds to me in the button, and I have king-jack suited. I wasn't quite sure if this hand was in my range to call a 12 big blind shove. The blinds did look like they were going to fold, so I decided on a call. and sure enough, the blinds did fold. Let's look at the charts on this one. Entering in the push-fold charts on pokercoaching.com, it looks like an under-the-gun all-in. We can call on the button with king-jack suited. Getting back to the hand, the short stack flips over ace-9 and we have 2 live cards. The flop gives me a jack and the board runs out clean. We haven't needed to get lucky yet, but glad that we did to make the final table. So this final table went by super quick. There were 2 players that had less than 10 big blinds, and then 3 others that had around 15 to 20 big blinds, and then 3 others that had around 25 big blinds, and I was sitting at almost 50 big blinds. In the first hand of the final table, 2 short stacks got knocked out, so 7 people left. In the second hand, I knocked out a 20 big blind player and a 7 big blind player, where stacks went all in by the flop, in which I ended up turning an ace-high flush, so 5 people left. I have a massive chip lead of almost 300,000, second place, third place, and fourth place have roughly 150,000 each, and fifth place maybe slightly less than that. And so everyone starts talking and wants to chop, and I mean, if that means I get to lock up a first place cash, I am definitely not against it. So that's what we agreed upon, and I lock up a first place bink with $2,400 and a Caesars Tournament winner gold coin. We would go on to use said coin, flexing so hard as a golf ball marker. So moving on, let's pick up late at night for a 1 AM session at the Wynn, where we randomly get to play a few hands with none other than Kato, also known as PokerBeast, although he joins our table a little later. Early in the session, I buy in for $300, sitting at the 1-3 table, and I can tell it's a fun one. There's a group of 4 people having a fun time, drinking, and super friendly. For one hand, I'm on the button with ace-5 suited and raised to $10. The big blind has a stack of about $65 and goes all in and says, "Come on, let's have some fun. I'm here to gamble." I end up folding as I haven't really seen her play yet, but she seemed very recreational and just ready to have a good time. In orbit later on the button, I get ace-10 suited, I raise to $12, and the big blind again goes all in and again says, "I'm here to gamble." This time I do decide to call, but whoops, we run into pocket kings. Luckily we hit an ace on the flop and end up scooping. Another hand I get into, the cutoff raises to $12, folds to me in the big blind, and I call it with pocket 8s. The flop comes out 2-5-6, I check it to him and he bets 25 and I make the call. The turn is a 2, I check and he bets $50 and I call. The river's an 8, oh yeah, I check, he goes all in. I tell him that I think I rivered him unless he's got quads. I flip over my hand and he shows pocket 5s. Wow, bad beat, but glad it's going my way. We then get a familiar face to sit directly to our right. Many of you may know him, PokerBeast. He was super friendly, super nice. We chatted a bit and got into a few hands, and I made his vlog, which you can see the hand we get into.
And the next hand I pick up is another beauty, ace-10 in the small blind. The big blind, a fan of the vlog, and a new friend, had said earlier, if it folds around us, let's never chop, let's have some fun. I say, sir, yes, sir. The low jack bumps it up to 12. The cutoff makes a call. It's no longer going to be mano-a-mano in the blinds. I should put in a 3-bet here. Once again, I'm tired. I'm not thinking straight. I'm just playing some casual poker, and I'm playing with some new friends. I'm just having a good time. 2 a.m. in the morning. I make the call. The big blind completes 48 in the pot. The flop comes 6-3-7, which is no good for me, but no good for anyone else. It checks through to the turn, which is a 10 of diamonds. Now I'm sitting with top pair, top kicker. I'm going to put in a bet. I go with a measly one of $15. Only the big blind wants to come along. And the river is the 6 of diamonds, pairing the board. I go ahead and check to my opponent, and he leads into me for $35, 113 in the pot. I'm really not sure what he's going to be betting with here. This is probably a quick call, but I just have a feeling that I'm beat.
Oh, God. Oh.
In case you thought I had a flush. But you don't have any.
You know what? I was going to fold, and then you showed me that ace, and so I'm going to call.
He got me with one of the oldest tricks in the book. He flips over the 6. I'm kind of an idiot for calling that, but it's all in good fun.
Great time meeting and playing a few hands with you, Kato. The win was quick but great. I was in for 300, out for 750. My buddies come meet me in Vegas, Chris and John, who are my grad school classmates and good friends. John isn't much of a gambler, but Chris is all about that Vegas life. We head to Fremont to watch some football at the stadium, have one of the best pizzas I've ever had in my entire life, and check out an insanely gifted rapper who is freestyling at everything he sees, RealKingvvibe. Check him out.
We did it differently, yeah, nah, so unique, but shout out to Travis, and I'm glad he's on the block, but since Travis up in Vegas, we're gonna have to turn him up, see, I'm a lyrical see the fella in back. I see the champ on the shirt, so that means I'm a champ every time that I rap. I feel like I made it now, that's dedication. He dropped it dub and I'ma turn him up. I see the tattoo that's pretty out, so I'm playing keys and I show the love. Even a lady right there.
We did play the 1-2 uncapped at the Golden Nugget for a few hours. Nothing really great, but got into this ridiculous hand with a very loose, drunk player. I raised to $10 in the low jack with king-queen offsuit, and this drunk guy calls in the small blind. He's been talking trash to people, arguing, and getting in about every pot, and I have yet to get into a hand with just him until now, so I'm pretty excited. The flop comes out queen jack 7 rainbow, and he checks. I bet 12, and he calls. The turn is another queen, he checks, and I bet $35, and he calls. The river is a 3, he checks, I bet $100, he goes all in for 90 more, and I call, in which he flips over pocket 3s. All I have to say is Golden Nugget is pretty wild, and I will definitely be back for vengeance. Let's switch gears to where we buy into a Venetian Deepstack tourney. Very early into the tourney, maybe about 4 hands in to sitting down, it's level 1, blinds are at 100-100, we pick up king-queen of diamonds and under the gun and raise to 300. The cutoff and big blind all call, and we go 3 ways to the flop, which comes jack 10-2 with 2 diamonds. I have all of the outs in the world, so I bet 400. The cutoff raises to 1,000, pretty strong here. Big blind folds, and I call to see what develops. The turn is a 9 of hearts, and we hit our straight. We check, he bets 2,000. I raise to 5,000. He goes all in, and I am all in, just like that. He flips over jack 10 for 2 pair, and wouldn't you know, the river is another 10. And just like that, we are out. Can't win them all. Let's move on to a session at the Bellagio. We hit up the 1-2 streets and buy in for $300, and right away sit down with pocket 9s in the big blind. There's a limp in low jack, cutoff raises to $15, I call, and the limper folds. The flop comes out 3-7-10 rainbow. The cutoff bets $15. I don't really think this board hits him all that much, and I'm not going anywhere, so I just call. The turn is a jack, and he checks. I think I'm ahead here, but decide I'll check the turn. The river is another jack, and he bets this time for $30, which doesn't really make sense here. Maybe he has a weak 10. I'm going to call either way. He says good call and mucks his cards right away, so we don't even have to show. This next hand we get queen jack of diamonds in the big blind. Hijack raises to $12, button calls, and I decide to 3-bet to $40 since I might be able to take it down right now. It's also a great flopping hand and easy to navigate. The hijack and the button folds, and we go 2 ways to the flop, which is king 5-2 with 2 diamonds. I lead out for $50 and the hijack calls. The turn is a 7 of diamonds and I hit my flush. This guy has been pouncing on people when check 2, so I might lay a trap and hope he bets, and maybe I can raise him on the river. I do decide to lay the trap and check. The hijack does take the bait and bets $75. I put on a show for a little while and think about it for a bit and then make the call. The river is the 8 of hearts and I check again. He bets another $75 and I go all in for about $125 more. He tanks for a little bit but ends up calling. I flip over my hand and we are good. Bellagio was pretty quick. I played for another 3 hours maybe, but I got into some good hands and never really took any hits. We just kept chipping up and up and up. I was in for $300, out for $819. Now let's bounce to another cash session at Caesars where we hit up another 1-3 cash game buy-in for $300. I barely took any notes on the super quick session, mainly because one of my buddies was sitting at the table with me and we were having a few drinks. I do know that similar to the Bellagio, I played for about 3 hours, never took any big losses, and made people pay when I had a good hand. I do remember one hand where I had pocket 7s, I raised to $12 in middle position, and big blind re-raised me to $30 or so, and I called. I remember flopping middle set, big blind betting into me, and I called. The turn gave me a boat, the big blind bet into me, I raised, and he called. The river was a blank, he checked, I bet, and he called, and we took down a pretty big pot. I was in for $300, out for $702. We also randomly got to run into the Felt Life himself, Mr. TonyG. Check out his vlog, link in the description box below. Bouncing around to another day, we do play a quick session at Aria where I was in for $500 and out for $450 because I was stubborn. Basically a tricky limper limped in under the gun. I raised with ace-king suited. He 3-bet me and I called. The king hits a flop and he bets. I go all in and he calls with pocket kings. Whoops. I did battle back a little bit to only lose $50 that session. We also hit the 1-2 at Flamingo, buying in for 200, and I basically won 2 all-ins with the nut flush and the nut straight. The run good is real, but let's get to the WSOP Deepstack Tourney. Spoiler alert, I didn't win the tourney, which means I didn't have money to buy the rights to use a popular song, so I'm improvising here instead as the intro to the tourney. Check it out, guys. World Series of Poker. No one's here yet. Tournaments start at 11. Main event starts at 4 p.m. That's the final table. But yeah, no one's here yet. But look at all these tables. Pretty sweet. This is going to be awesome. We buy in for $1,500 for event number 77, which is the World Series of Poker Deepstack Tournament. I didn't record anything, but took notes and updated my Instagram stories, which I will be using to recap. Level 1, blinds are at 100-100. Tournament just started and there's 4 other people at my table. I pick up King 10 in the cutoff and raise to 300. The big blind calls and the flop comes out Queen 9-3 rainbow. Big blind checks, I bet 300, and big blind calls. The turn is an ace, which I feel is a little better for my range, so when he checks me, I'm going to bet 700 and take the pot right there. Always nice to get the first one out of the way. As you can see on my story, I have King 9 of clubs on the button and call the pre-flop raise of 300. The flop comes out 10-5-2 with 1 club. The pre-flop raiser bets and I decided to float. When the turn was a 10 and the pre-flop raiser checked, he might as well just push the chips to me. I bet and he fooled. Level 3, where blinds are 200-300, you can see we do get an unlucky one where we raise to 800 with ace-queen offsuit when first to act. The cutoff calls and the flop comes out Queen 10-7. I bet 1,000 and the cutoff calls. The turn is the 3 of spades. I bet 2,500 and he calls. The river is the 9 of spades. I bet 5,000 and he again calls but hits runner for a flush. Still in level 3, the button raises to 700. I have ace-jack offsuit in the small blind and decide to 3-bet to 2,000 and the big blind calls. The flop comes out 2-4-10 with 2 clubs. I bet 2,000 and the opponent calls. The turn is the king of diamonds. I check and he checks back. The river is the 8 of diamonds. I feel that if he had a king, he definitely would have bet on the turn, so with the river being pretty harmless, I decided to bluff the river and end up taking it down. Well, spoiler alert, this next hand just sucks. Just for some context, I'm on the small blind this hand. The big blind, or the guy directly to my left, seems like a solid Euro pro. He's been 3-betting often, especially when cutoff or button raises, and he's in the blinds. The guy directly to my right is the button, who is very recreational. So the button rec raises to 1,300. I wake up with pocket kings. I would definitely raise here, but I want to see if I can get the big blind to 3-bet, and I'll 4-bet. So I decide to call. The big blind Euro pro gives it some thought, but ends up folding. Going into the flop, the villain has about 44k and I've got about 47k. The flop comes out 5-4 jack with 2 diamonds. I check, he bets 3,200 and I call. The turn is the 2 of hearts. I check, he bets 10,000 and I shove it all in. He ends up calling and flips over pocket 6s. Okay. He's only got 6 cards in the deck that will help him, that being 3s or 6s. And yup, a freaking 3 comes on the river. Wow, just wow. I'm left with a few thousand chips. I go all in on one of the next few hands and bust out. Just wow. I've never played an WSOP tourney before and was really looking forward to it. I was pretty tilted after that, so I went to get some food, have a few drinks, and relax. But then I decided I wanted to check out the WSOP final table as that was going on that afternoon/night, and decided to enter in one of the WSOP Daily Deepstacks for $200. Not gonna lie about this one, I was already a few drinks in. I mentally decided that I'm just going to relax and not worry about the earlier tournament. I got a drink right away and played some fun poker. I didn't take any notes, but I remember playing pretty solid, and each hand that I won, the table kept ordering more drinks for me. I wasn't really complaining though. I do remember calling a river bet with ace high and actually being right. I never call ace high river bets, but with all the liquid courage in me, I called and won a nice pot. We kept chipping up, and I kept ordering drinks. We did have a break where I walked over to the final table of the main event, which was super freaking cool. Back to the action, and they put us at the final table of 10 people, fitting, I guess, since 10 people get paid. I believe there were about 70 entries or so. And again, I apologize, but I was moderately drunk at this point, so there were no notes taken. I do remember having an alright chip stack, and there might have been 2 people with shorter stacks than me. I also remember getting into exactly 1 hand at the final table, and that was with a chip leader. I remember flopping 2 pair and was all in by the turn. However, the turn gave my opponent a straight and I was out. However, I cashed 10th place for about $450. That wraps up a few Vegas trips of last year, which all in all was a lot of fun. Before I go, I just wanted to give a few shoutouts to a few other poker vlogs out there. Jerry Harris with Jerry Harris Poker. Me and this dude are going to be playing in the Colossus together at the end of June, and definitely are collaborating on a vlog or 2. Then there's Matt with Huggy Poker. He's consistently killing it in Texas on the felt and on YouTube. Check him out. Then there's TJ. He started a vlog about the same time I did. You might also see him at the main event this year. And then there's Mark Davies. He just banked the biggest tournament of his career. Check out his vlog. All the links in the description box are below.